I'm an entertainment journalist. One of my favorite things to cover is animation, and that's a really great example. So let's bring the people out who brought you this genius. First, we've got C.H. Greenblatt, executive producer. We've got director and supervising producer Maxwell Adams. Making his return as the voice of Billy.
Whoa!
Please welcome Richard Stephen Horvitz. And we've got writer Jordan Morris. So, Carl, how did this come to be? Obviously they joke in the episode, the multiverse so hot right now, but this is a big deal, and was it something you were mulling around for a while and happened now?
Yeah, hey everybody. Basically, when we started the new season of Jellystone, I went into a meeting with Sam Register, who's the head of Warner Animation, and he was like, what do you want to do differently this season? And I was like, well, we're going to do a lot of guest stars, we're going to have all these Hanna-Barbera characters show up, there's tons of characters we want to use, and he said to me, well, what if you had the Cartoon Network characters show up? And I just thought, like, can we do that? He's like, well, I'm in charge of Cartoon Network, so yeah, you can do it. And I went back and I was like, guys, guess what we get to do? So we went into the writer's room, we started throwing around ideas, we started making a list of every character we wanted to show up, found out who we were allowed to use, who we weren't allowed to use, but basically anybody we were allowed to use up to a certain point, we're like, this has to be classic Cartoon Network love letter show, and we started bouncing around ideas of like, how do we get them into the universe, how do we make them feel like their original versions with the original look and the original voices. Yeah, so that was kind of the story.
So Jordan, when you're sitting down, forging the story here, but you've been talking about this for a while. So how much was mapped out, and how much were you kind of figuring it out as you go along?
Yeah, I loved this idea when Carl brought it up in the room. I was so into it. I took a break from pitching thousands and thousands of jabberjaw ideas to kind of making this something. I was so excited about it, and I think I came with a couple of premises that I loved of how to get everybody together. And I think the one everybody liked best was that all of the chaos characters get sent to Jellystone because it's a place you can blow up every episode and no one cares. So yeah, we had a couple other fun ideas. I think maybe one that we were messing around with was that Jellystone is where Chemical X comes from. But I think we loved the multiverse thing and loved the portals. And yeah, we love the idea that these characters who kind of people make fun of a little bit in their universes are just so at home in Jellystone where everybody's just a lovable dum-dum.
Yeah, it was like the trash, it was the trash bin where all these got sent to. Yeah.
Maxwell, I imagine this had to be exciting for you to tackle on a couple of levels. Just first off, conceptually, the big picture of it, but then specifically, there are some characters in here that obviously come from a show you created with Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. So, what was it like getting to kind of guide those characters again? And was it a surprise to you that you were getting to do that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it for sure. I don't know, it's always, when you come back to something, especially if you're not expecting it after a decade, you're like, do I really want to do this? But I think once we got into it, and it's, since it's not really just about them, and I kind of got to touch all these other, not just Hanna-Barbera, but Cartoon Network characters that I've always really thought were cool. So.
Mm-hmm. Was there any Hanna-Barbera characters specifically that you were like, oh wow, I'm gonna get to do something with them?
That kind of constantly happened on the show.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen for a while, but we've got a Thundar the Barbarian.
Thundar!
I've been missing it for a long time.
It's not the version of Thundar you want.
No.
I apologize right now, but it's funny.
Richard, how surprised
What?
were you? How surprised were you to get that call to say, we need you to dust off the Billy voice?
Is that it? Hello? Who's there? Yeah. I'll do your show. It was great. I had no idea it was coming down the pike. This guy who I talked to didn't even tell me. And I don't even know if you knew at that point, did you?
Maybe.
So it was great. It was awesome. It's always great to slip into some more pie again. Put on the old pie shoes. I like pie.
Carl, you worked on Billy and Mandy as well, so what was it like for you, to sort of have this come full circle on this different show you're working on?
It was really, really heartwarming. Just when we got in to record and I heard the three of you going again, was like kind of coming home. You know, there was a really, really happy feeling to it. Getting those characters in, knowing that Maxwell was like writing them and doing that, I don't know, it felt just really right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like when we got to record the Powerpuff Girls as well, I think we all kind of fanboyed out a little bit. It was really exciting. So yeah, that's a thing. I don't know if you guys realize, but like for us, it's just as exciting to get to play with these characters again as it is for you all to watch them.
You kind of addressed, you know, the idea that you had of the focus, like the three characters that come in first would be these characters that maybe are the ones overlooked or sort of snarked on by the characters within the shows they're coming from. But you only have so much, you know, screen time. So how did you hone in on who would it be? Were there different iterations you guys had along the way of who it might be?
I mean, when we were in the room, we were talking about it really had to be, we kind of wanted it to be the people who were annoying in the other universes get sent to Jellystone.
Yeah, and then the people in their universes learn that they're such like a part of what makes those stories happen. So yeah, I think we liked that idea, but like, it was so hard. I was such a Cartoon Network kid, guys, and just like, the outline for this is so long. We had a lot of ideas, and, you know,
there's so much we had to cut.
I know. There was some lovely stuff. But yeah, I think
this 20-minute episode, we could have done 40 minutes easily.
Yeah, this could have been our end game. This could have been our Avengers end game. 3 hours.
But one thing we kept focusing on as we were working on it was the core story was the Mojo Cindy love story, and that had to get the most time, and everything else kind of had to become smaller and faster and a little more cameo to really service that in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and we love Mojo and Cindy, and it was so nice to see them like get a break, you know.
I always felt like our version of Cindy, I always felt like was a fine line where she was almost a mad scientist, like she could easily have gone to that dark side, and you know, she was more about the science. So it was nice to see like, yeah, this is kind of where she lies.
Got her opportunity.
Orally ambiguous.
I was gonna ask that. It's such a fun part of the episode, that dynamic. Did that come to you guys pretty quickly? Because I don't think people going in will expect, keep that a secret, but you'll probably not.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when we landed on that, but I think part of the idea was just that like all of these characters who have a hard time catching a break would catch a break at Jellystone. And then I think we just talked about like who to pair up, right? Like who would be fun to see together. And just because Mojo and Cindy are the science geniuses, that kind of made sense. And then them falling in love was like a really fun idea. And yeah, and Cindy always has a little bit of a tough time in Jellystone. She's so much smarter than everyone else. So yeah, her finding a like kindred spirit was just a really fun idea. And it worked out really lovely, I think.
Yeah, one of the scenes that we had to cut, which I think was one of our favorite scenes.
Oh yeah.
Was a Johnny Bravo moment.
Yeah, it was a B story where usually we end up having to cut B stories, and this one was particularly sad.
Yeah, we're like, how does Johnny fit in the modern world? And is he basically like a freakazoid now? Like, how does he work? And so we had a scene where he shows up at a beach, I think, and he hits on
Shazam.
Hits on Squidly. He's like, hey, I'm and Shazam, who's like our buff muscle dude, was just like, bro. And then Johnny's like, bro, and they just basically start crying. And
I think the joke was they decided to take a break from dating and work on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was so good. It was so sweet. It was like fun to get to kind of like modernize, but not change the character and who he is at all, but just put him in that setting. But we just didn't have time.
That sounds amazing, though. This is my second time seeing the episode, and it's so jam-packed with things to sort of look for and grab, and I know I've missed stuff. Is that, Maxwell, you know, the great thing is that you can at least, even if you can't do a focus on it, include those little beats, and is there stuff that you guys were just so excited to get in there, especially in that final fight sequence?
Oh, for sure. We had to clear all of the characters before we could use them, so a lot of the early stage was just writing out, you know, a list of 200 names, seeing who we got off that, and then you were like, oh, now somebody has to draw this.
Yeah, the hardest part, and I don't think you guys realize, like, when you're on a production, you have model sheets for every character, you have designs for those. We couldn't get the model sheets for all these characters. They don't exist. So we're on the internet hunting, trying to make sure we have the correct models, that they're not fan art, that it's actual production, that things look like they used to look. Trying to draw the style of all those shows for dozens and dozens of characters. It was tricky. Hopefully we did it. Hopefully we didn't mess it up too much.
I hope everyone spotted the character Granny Sweet with the chainsaw, because that was a wonderful touch.
There was a little Easter egg that people probably didn't see. So one of the things we did was our executive Jay, which is somewhere in here, Jay. Anyway, he was like, "Hey, we want to make sure that Gendy and Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken sign off on this, and they see it and they have any notes." They were very helpful and very generous. They gave us some really excellent feedback on making sure certain little elements of the characters are right. And one of Craig's notes was, "Can Bubbles, the old version, be beating up on the new version?" And we're like, "Absolutely, yes." And so there's a very quick shot in that chaotic scene where in the sky, Bubbles comes in and wallops her on the head. So for those who care.
I think, I'll be looking for that. Richard, there's some fun sort of meta layers to some of Billy's dialogue here. Was that fun for you? Did it reflect your experience sometimes with the character?
Yes, especially the part about the reboot. that was my favorite. Yeah, no, it was funny, doing the record again, because Billy does so many fast-talking bits.
Yeah.
And there are some episodes that I go back to in the original series where I go, wait, what did I say? I didn't understand what I said. And this one I was glad there was some more articulation where you could actually hear what I said. But especially the reboot part.
And you got to learn Billy's greatest wish, to be a dog.
Yes, to be like a dog. Yes, very much so.
I think that also came out of like, who were we going to pair Billy with? And,
Yeah,
like, that'd be
Hoggy Doggy and Doggy Daddy are like
Yeah.
one of my favorites. Oh,
Billy
hi,
gets-
toy. Yeah.
Billy gets the most loving family
Yeah.
possible. It goes from being just pooped on to being the most special boy.
And I think we had a version where he got smart and he thrived and he's.
Oh yeah, we did talk about
Like-
Smart
like-
Billy for a while.
When Billy has a family, he like really goes. But we just
He
didn't have time
becomes
for
a
that.
high achiever.
He's like, it's not smart, you're smart.
Well, you say that, I have to ask the natural question. Could there be a second installment, or was this a one-off?